Hi there, Stitchers. It's Nicole. Welcome back to Stitching with Nicole, Flosstube episode 146. It is Sunday, May the 24th, 2026, and I am back to share what I have been stitching and working on the last couple of weeks. I did take last week off due to the Spring Mingle hosted by Lindy Stitches and teaching a class. So thank you so much for allowing me a little break from the weekly Flosstube, but I'm super excited to share all the things I've been working on. Before we get started, I do want to let you guys know that I do use affiliate links down in the description. That means if you choose to shop through those links, I do earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. I also have Buy Me a Coffee here, which is basically a tip jar. It's never expected, always appreciated. It goes to help for things like framing and extra content and all of that good stuff, extra equipment. Thank you very much to those of you who have donated, and I want to give a big shout out to Gina. Thank you so much for the Buy Me a Coffee. I always like to talk about or share what we're going to be talking about in the episode before we dive in. And this week, I have a lot of stitching, a lot of finishing. We're going to talk about the tomato sal that Jessica Sweetwater Stitcher and I are hosting for the month of May. You can use this hashtag here. I do think it's best if you are sharing your tomato stitching on social media, tag at Sweetwater Stitcher and at Nichol Spohr so that we can see what you're stitching. I have absolutely loved seeing what everybody has been up to. I have a big finish. I finished all of the charts in Keeper of the Pens plus the I Collect, so I'm very excited about that. Lots of finishing. I do not have an FFO this week. I will have FFOs for next week, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the finishing, kind of why I didn't get any of that done. And all of my other stitching, including my patriotic stitching for the One Nation chart, how I'm approaching that. What else have I been working on, you guys? We'll talk about all of that. I do have a little Enable Vision to share today, plus a Spring Mingle recap, which I will share. And I do have new floss drops and project cards in my shop. They're the Vintage Notions, and I'm going to show you a sneak peek at the Santa floss drops and project cards that will be dropping June 1st. So very, very excited about all of those things. Thrilled to be able to offer those Santa floss drops and project cards again just in time for Christmas in July stitching, which I cannot even believe I am saying that out loud. I think we're going to go ahead and dive in to this week's episode. I'm going to talk about my recap for the Spring Mingle, which was held last weekend. This is an event hosted by Lindy Stitches, and I was so honored to be asked to teach a class. I taught a wool applique beginner-friendly class, and I'm going to share not only my project, you guys have seen that, I'll show the two variations on that. Plus, I'm going to show you the bonus items that I did gift the students in the class. And just to preface this, because I have received multiple emails from people, yes, those things will be released eventually. The whole thing will be released eventually. So stay tuned. I will announce when that is coming. And for anyone who has asked about previous things that I have done, like my strawberry chart that I did for the spring break retreat at Chantal's 141 design retreat last May, that chart will be released in my shop on June 1st as well. And with that, I've reworked the chart. I've reworked the chart in that It is made to work with my strawberry felt stitching die. That is all the same, but I did make a template for if you wanna use wool applique, to use the wool applique instead of the dye, so it kinda gives you a little bit more flexibility. So that also will be released into my shop on June the 1st, so lots of good stuff coming. Let's talk about my needle book first. So for the needle book, this one here on the left was the needle book that I shared first. It does have the Houndstooth Weeks Dye Works felted wool, and that was the wool that was in the kit from Lindy Stitches. Now, I ran out of enough of this to complete a bonus needle book that I did for the step out and the handout and all of that good stuff. So I used some wool that I already had, which is just a solid red wool, which is totally fine. And I did stitch around this with some of the Cole Weeks Dye Works thread instead of the candy apple, and I really do like the effect, so I wanted to show both of those here. It is a needle book. Ignore this. This is my leftover from teaching class. I had it all in here. But each of the needle books is the same on the inside. Just, a little bit different wool used for these. What I do want to show you are the bonuses that I provided for my students, which was a teeny tiny little version of our ladybug, our needle bug, if you will. And I charted a little chart here to make a little pin keep that then I stitched the ladybug on. And instead of the stamen that we used for the antennae, I use some black pins for those, as well as the little polka dots on our ladybug, because it is a little pincushion pin keep after all. And just really, really sweet. Here's what the back looks like. Totally a happy accident that I had a label that matched that. Little buttons, a little pin, and my 2026 charm. The second bonus I provided everybody was a little template to make a strawberry scissor fob. And I, of course, put mine on my scissors in my needle book. Really cute, great way to use up teeny tiny pieces of the felted wool. So I added that into my book. And again, I will release the whole thing as a set eventually. Just really fun. And I wanted to give a little thank you to those of you who joined me for the Spring Mingle class. Thank you again for such a wonderful event, an absolutely wonderful time, and I just can't say enough great things about Lindy Stitch's events in general. Definitely check out the Midsummer Stitch, the Harvest Moon event, and of course, Jingle Ball later this year. New designers for Jingle Ball. Couple new designers have joined this year, which is awesome. Teresa Vinette of Shakespeare's Peddler, and of course, Paulette Stewart from Plum Street Samplers. So, very excited about new additions and to see what they have in store for us. Let's talk some finishes. So, the first one I've shown you before. However, this one is the I Collect, and this time I did get my buttons sewn on. And this is I Collect by With Thy Needle and Thread. And this one I wanted to do as part of my tomato stitching, and finished this all up, but I did sew my buttons on. And what I did was I took a little Aleene's tacky glue and I glued them in place. And that's part of the reason I didn't finish it. I let this sit for about 24 hours and let the glue dry. And then once they were glued in place, and I mean, it was the tiniest bit of glue. In fact, you can probably see the glue seeped through the linen a little bit. I let this sit and dry, and then I just simply sewed the buttons on when everything was dry, when it wouldn't, the needle wouldn't go through anything sticky. And I just took some buttons from my stash to fill that little jar. So that is finished and ready for FFOing. Stitched on 40 count vintage country mocha with all of the called for colors. Next, I have Keeper of the Pins, which in this book there is 2, 4, 5 designs plus this little bonus. So 6 designs, and I finished stitching everything. So previously, I had my Soul is Fed with needle and thread, and I'm pretty sure I'd shown you the ABCs. These are pretty similar. This was the first one I did. I know I shared this. I may have even shared this one finished. I cannot remember. But I noticed that I had forgotten to do some little stitching here, and I know that the strawberry is supposed to have some satin stitching on it. There was just some nice little long stitches around the sewing bird's neck. I actually decided not to do them for this, but otherwise this one is all good and ready to go. There's also some nice little satiny long stitches over these small spools here. All of these are stitched on 36 count vintage country mocha. So the I Collect was on 40 count and these are all stitched on 36. Next, I did the spool with the tomatoes. So stinking cute. This is a lot of white stitching, and so is the spool here. And if you've ever heard my philosophy on white stitching, or never have heard my philosophy on white stitching, especially if it's something you don't like to do, I will stitch 1 or 2 strands of white, and then I will move to something else, and that generally breaks it up enough that I don't feel like I'm just repetitively doing fill-in. Although, unless you like fill-in, then do it that way, but for me, it's a little way that I psych myself out so that it doesn't feel like all I'm doing is sitting and filling in white, or in this case, eggshell. Then I stitched up this one and I finished her up this week. This was my final one from the book, and it's the little sewing girl and lots of little specialty like back stitches, large X's or little satin stitches around the spools and little beading. The beading is throughout. This actually stitched up really, really fast. Super cute. And then in the book, the bonus item is this little pillow here where you stitch a little tomato from the chart and surround it with buttons. So it's hardly any stitching at all. And I did that, but I didn't have any more of my 36 count vintage country mocha. I'm sure I have some, but I just didn't want to pull any out. I had this scrap left over of 40 from something else, and it was just laying in my little scrap bin. So I actually used 40 for this one and just stitched that. And then I did the same thing where that I did for I Collect, where I glued my buttons down, and once dry, then I hand stitched them all in place around the little tomato so that I can make this little pillow pincushion like this. In fact, you can see where I started stitching my little free 250 tag, and the first one I designed was going to be way, way too big, and so I nixed that. It's just hanging out here on the edge. But anyhow, so we have all of these. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 little pillows to finish for tomato stitching. I call this a big win for my May tomato stitching. I'm really excited. I will talk a little bit about my plan going forward. I do want to finish a couple things, and I have another tomato thing I'll start for my last Market Mania this year, for this May, but really, really pleased with my progress on tomato stitching. Someone had left me the comment and said that all the designs in here stitch up really fast. And I do think they do stitch up really fast. Completely correct about that. I think it's kind of funny that I put it off. I have had this out wanting to stitch for a couple of years, and I just kept pushing it aside. But I think the only one I already had stitched from here is this one. So in fairness, I had this one stitched, but I stitched everything else here this month and really pleased with my tomato stitching progress. And also, to cross this off my list, I would definitely take another one of Brenda Gervais' books and challenge myself to either finish stitching designs if I've started them or stitch everything from the book in a month. I think it's kind of a super fun little challenge. So, Keeper of the Pens and I Collect are all finished. I have another new start and finish. So, as I was finishing up the Keeper of the Pens and I Collect, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to stitch something else? Sewing room related, and I did pick the Sewing Bird by WIP by Needle and Thread. This is a 2013 chart, so it's a little bit older. It does not have a tomato on it, but it does, to me, really work with all of the other things in the collection. And for this, I started it on the 18th and finished the 23rd. And I made, let's see, the called for fabric for this was 35 count old mill Java by R&R, which I did not have. So I pulled vintage homespun by R&R 36 count, and I also just wanted to get it stitched. So I didn't order the Valdani Quiet Fall color and instead used Classic Colorworks Calico Kitty. And I stitched this up as well. So this one is all finished too. Love this. The little border up at the top is kind of ghosty. That is Weeks Dye Works Peach. And down here at the bottom as well. I will say I had a classic Nichol fail. When I started stitching this, I started in the center, which ish was kind of one of the legs. And I stitched that, and then I thought I would come up and outline the bird. Well, I outlined about this much of the bird, but none of this area here. And of course, I know better. I went ahead and went in and stitched the spool completely. All the little decorative stitching over it and everything. And then I came up and tried to start here and match it up, and it didn't match up because I had miscounted over here. So what I ended up having to do was I had already filled in a bunch of the bird. It was kind of just right here that I was wrong. So I ended up pulling out the entire spool because I had also stitched the star, this entire border, the ABC, DE. Yeah, I think that's it. So for me, tearing out the spool was the best option. It stunk. It means that almost everything I stitched one evening had to be ripped out and then restitched the next evening. But lesson learned, don't do that. I know myself, I know better. I know that my outlining skills are not fantastic, but it's done and I think it matches the rest of them so beautifully and really, really cute. Now there is a little strawberry you can make from this. So I'm going to be making that so I can add that to my little sewing bird pillow hanger. And I think this is a little hanger design as well, kind of like the wordplay designs. So I'll definitely be working on that too, or finishing this one too. And I think that is it for finishes this week. Let's talk about WIPs. I did a little work on the Scattered Seed Samplers Nesting Together Pin Keep. This was part of the 2025 club on Etsy from Scattered Seed Samplers, and I'm also in the 2026 club, but this was the first one. You might remember I gave away my previous start. I had messed up. It does come with your choice of linen or Ada, and I got the 36 count vintage country mocha. I accidentally stitched on the wrong side, so I just wanted to restart mine, and I have. I am using 36 count pyrite by Cedar River linens for mine, and here's where I'm at. So I haven't made a ton of progress. I actually worked on getting all those tomato stitches finished first. I think since I was here last, I've added the bird, maybe finished anything that I needed to here, like strawberry wise. I cannot remember. Maybe that was done last time. I started on the urn, but I did pop over here and start on the large bird here on the right side. It actually stitches really quickly. I'm going to have to grab a little bit more of 3011 because it came with the amount of thread that you need to stitch this. I may even have to get some of the others. It is charted and kitted in DMC, so super easy to just grab another skein if I need to and stitch, but I would love to have this one done ASAP so I can start on one of the others in this wonderful series. I really, really love this, and there are the instructions for making the little strawberry, which I'm going to do because I feel like strawberries are going to be the next thing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jessica Sweetwater Stitcher had talked about maybe doing some strawberry stitching coming up, and it is the season for that. So that is Nesting Together by Scattered Seed Samplers. Next, for my third Market Mania start, I actually didn't start anything last weekend. Spring Mingle was going on and I was busy and I actually didn't do any stitching for about 3 days. That wasn't Spring Mingle related. I decided to start my third chart and I'll start my fourth this coming Friday. I started Quaker Snippets 3 and I am stitching on 40 count pyrite by Cedar River Linen. And the model was stitched on Moonstone, 40 count Moonstone by Fiber on a Whim. I did not have it and I didn't want to wait for it to come. To me, pyrite is kind of the equivalent of vintage country mocha, only in an overdyed rather than a printed. So, and white does show up good on it. So that is what I went for. I did do a center start for this. This was a chart from Market, of course, and I'm stitching with all of the called for threads, and it's going to be beautiful. I love it. I'd kind of like to concentrate on this and with needle and thread as my tomato stitching, and this is my Market Mania stitching. I know I have other Market Manias that the Pledge of Allegiance that I've started as well, but I'm trying to maybe concentrate on one or two smalls and a big at a time. We shall see, but that is my little start for Quaker Snippets 3 by With Thy Needle and Thread. And yes, I know what you're thinking. This is like the With Thy Needle and Thread episode. For some reason today, it feels like I've stitched an awful lot of that, and I'm not mad about it. And finally, I have been working on my One Nation by Bygone Stitches. This is a chart from, I believe, 2010. Yes. So also something not super new. For some reason, I've been in a very throwback kind of mood. It is stitched with 3 colors. I am using the called for Antique Lace, Blacksmith Blue, and Cupid from Classic Colorworks. Stitching on the called for color of fabric, which is Ale by Picture This Plus, but I'm using um 36 count instead of the called for 28, and I've kind of changed my thinking for stitching this. I have been very inspired by people like Christy Crosshatch Quilts, Lori Holt. They kind of, I think they both do like a couple of strands a day, or one strand a day, or 2 strands, whatever, something to that effect. And other people like Sean the Periwinkle Stitcher, who does assignment stitching. And so I'm kind of doing a little, I've experimented with the 2 strands a day for the last 2 weeks since my last Flosstube. Even though I didn't get to stitch 3 days, I made up for it. So I have put in 2 strands a day on my One Nation since I saw you last. And it's not going to get done fast, but I do like it because otherwise it's kind of not, the words are not the most fun thing to stitch. Well, especially those straight lines. But if I'm only doing 2 strands a day, I find it very easy to accomplish. So I have finished a whole other row, the Maryland and South Carolina. I finished filling in the whole top row of my white stars up there, plus I brought that next blue border down so that I have the space to fill in some more white flowers, and I am gonna continue on with 2 strands a day, and I'm just going to share it in each one of my Flosstube episodes, and we'll see how long it takes me to finish. I have no expectation. I originally had thought, "Oh, I wanna hurry and get this done." I am really enjoying taking my time this year. I think that's what I wanna say. Enjoying the stitches, finding something I want to watch on TV, and just sitting down and or a podcast or an audiobook, whatever it might be, and just enjoying the stitches. And for me, those 2 strands a day, I do those 2 strands, and then I start working on something else. And it has worked beautifully. Um The only time I didn't do that was last night. I had a little bit left to fill in this bottom row here, so I went ahead and did probably more like 4 strands to finish off the red because those straight lines do take quite a lot of floss and a lot of little strands. So, I love, love, love how it's coming. And like I said, we'll see what I get to next week, but that is One Nation by Bygone Stitches. Here's the back. I have really also been enjoying trying to keep my backs nice and neat and super clean and tidy so that you don't see any strands through on the front. And that is it for my stitching for the last couple of weeks. Did a lot of stitching, but also had some breaks in there. Even though I kinda caught up on some things, last weekend was kind of a wash, but then I did catch up this week with my daily stitching for this, and I'm just going to continue on. Let's talk about what I want to focus on this coming week as we're wrapping up the month of May and looking forward to June and what my focus pieces are gonna be for June. Obviously, number 1 is One Nation, 2 strands a day, but what are going to be my other pieces that I would like to focus on? So I would love to finish my Nesting Together pin keep from Scattered Seed Samplers as a small, and my feature or focus, because I'd like to continue working on tomato stitching until I'm tired of it, and that is gonna make a slight shift. I'm not going to worry about the smalls, and instead I am going to see how far I can get on with needle and thread, and my goal is to finish it in June so that I can take it to get framed. That is kind of my plan. I have not worked on it anymore. I have like just that tiniest little corner up there. I am stitching on the called for 36 count Legacy by Picture This Plus, all of the called for strands 1/2, but I know that that is a big one, but I think I can do it. What do you guys think? I'm gonna give it my best. So instead of concentrating on all those little small pieces, this is my big plan. I want to work on this. I wanna work on Quaker Snippets 3 because out of all of my Market Mania pieces, that is the smallest one, I would say, so I'd like to get that one finished up for this year. We're gonna continue working on One Nation. I'm gonna continue working on my Christmas WIP Go. I'll show that next. So my only Christmas WIP Go I'm working on for May is the Mary Mary Pin Keep from Stacy Nash. And I'm going to continue working on this one throughout the month, just see how far we get for that. The other things I would like to work on, especially as I'm working on finishing this week, are the ABC My Pins and Me Tomato Pin Cushion from With Thy Needle and Thread. Not a cross stitch chart, just a tomato. I'd like to add that to my tomatoes. I bought this as a kit. So I have the pieces here. I'm going to do my best to get this guy finished with the other things. And then my last Market Mania start for May is going to be tomato. It goes with the tomato sal as well. So I am going to get this started this Friday or sometime this week. We'll see what I feel like doing. And I would love to continue working on this in the month of June as well. So kind of just where the wind blows me basically, but I'm still with a focus on tomato stitching, patriotic stitching, I'm sure, you know, just kind of whatever I feel like doing. But with a focus on my 2 strands of day for One Nation, and then just kind of wrapping up and working on some of these other tomato things, and especially seeing how far I can get on with needle how far I can get and hopefully a finish on with needle and thread. A little enable vision for you. I don't know if you can get I think you had to have been a member this year, but Sampler Guild of the Rockies, I believe registration for 2026-27 closes May 31st. So I will put a link down here in the description. I already sent in my registration. We did get a free chart from Teresa Vinette, Shakespeare's Peddler. It's adorable. Look at this little chart. So, so cute. So I did go ahead and print that right off. I love that. Then I don't think I've even ordered anything, you guys. But I did get the latest sew sampler from Fat Quarter Shop, so we're going to open that up. Oh, I did get my latest stars for the Sweetwater Quilt Along monthly club. I think that's more what it's called. I've starched my first month's fabric and I'm hoping to do a lot of sewing on Memorial Day because I'm taking the day off. So we shall see what I get done on that. So I'm going to open up the sew sampler. And this one is called Coral Me Happy. Such a cute little name. As always, they have some QR codes on the back for some savings and some bonus things. They also always include the little printout that tells you what's included and the value of everything. And we're going to take a quick walk through all of that as well. So first off, we get the Whitecaps Floral Reef Petite 10-inch Stacker by Tula Pink for Free Spirit fabrics valued at $23.48. I know some of you are huge Tula Pink fans out there. So pretty. Cute little 10-inch stacker. Then the Quick and Easy All Stars block tool valued at $18.98. You guys, this is a super cool book. This is a book, it says it's packed with hints, tips, and tricks, but it is just chock full, gorgeous, gorgeous photos of star blocks, different sizes for those blocks, how to make them in different sizes. A wonderful reference tool. I really love this. I cannot wait to look all through this. So if Fat Quarter Shop has these individually, I will link to that too down below. So already $23.48 and $18.98. The Whitecaps quilt pattern made to work with the 10-inch stacker from Tula Pink. Here it is. It measures 61.5 by 75 1/4. And here is the rest of the fabric requirements you need if you want to make that quilt. Plus, you'll need the half square triangles, 2 3/4 inch finished half square triangles on a roll paper from Fat Quarter Shop. The pattern is valued at $11.98. The triangles on a roll is valued at $15.98. And then they did include a From the Vault pattern. This is Starflower. This is a super pretty quilt. Couple of options, 44 by 63 and a half. And then there's 3 table runner options in this pattern too, really good. And then the new spooled quilt along. Oh, I lied. I did get the fabric for this. So I would like to go ahead and get the first block from last month and this one sewed up, so that maybe I could keep up this year. I would really like to. I love the Bunny Hill fabrics when that is the fabric that they use for these monthly sew alongs. So I'm going to see if I can catch up. And that is valued at $4.98. And that is what was in the sew sampler for May. The other thing that came, so I do have some more in Mabel Vision than I think I do, is the label club from Sweetwater that I'm a part of, have been for several years. I love the labels each month. So my labels came. I will link to this down in the description as well. And I use these a lot, even on, for example, on the back of my little pin cushion I made for my Spring Mingle bonus. This is a Sweetwater label. So I use them on the back of my little cross stitch finishes, not just quilting. I think they're fabulous. It irons on. I Frankenstein stitched this up and then I just cover it with a cute little label and it looks gorgeous. So just a little tip in case you think they're only for quilting. Highly recommend these. I love using them on the back of my pillow finishes. And really quick, I did grab the spooled quilt kit. This is for those charts that come in the sew sampler, or you can buy them individually. I will link them for you guys. If the quilt kit, I also got the backing kit, are still available, I will link those as well. Really love this collection. It is gorgeous. Maybe I'll pop in the little photo here of all of the different prints. I just love when they do their pink red prints, some of my very favorite. I also got some happy mail. So Danielle sent me this beautiful Mother's Day card. Thank you so much, Danielle. It is absolutely beautiful. I love it. Then Bobby Joe sent me a beautiful card and this fabulous little wool tomato pincushion chart that she said I can keep or give away, but I'm totally going to make this. So maybe once I've made it, I will give it away. But isn't that adorable? I feel like I totally need to make that this week. So wish me luck. I'm going to do my very best, but this is adorable. Let's see. It says additional patterns and kits from onewingwool.com. So definitely check that out. Here is the little thing on the back. Really cute. Love that. Thank you so much. And Glenna sent a sweet note. She sent some money to help cover postage cost or coffee, she said, which fantastic. Maybe I'll treat my employee and myself to a coffee this week. We have a wonderful little local coffee shop down the street. If any of you have been here for a while, it's probably been 3 years ago. They put a Starbucks in right across the street. I say across the street. It's outside my my neighborhood across the highway, and then there's Walmart. Um, so it's a little ways, but it's right there, like by Dairy Queen in front of the Walmart. And they didn't even make it, I don't think, maybe a year, maybe a year and a half. But we have two little, like we have is it Scooters Coffee? Is that the one we have down here? Which I know is another chain, but then there's the little independent coffee shop here in my little town. And oh my gosh, great coffee. So that's where we go. So I will definitely treat Brendan and myself to a coffee this week. They make fabulous iced coffees. And now that the weather's warm, feel like we need it. But Miss Glenna accidentally bought two of these charts and she wanted to gift one here so that I could give it away. And this is a giveaway this week. So she sent a copy of Plum Street Samplers, The Pledge of Allegiance. I would love to share this with one of you. So please use pledge somewhere in your comment for a chance to win this chart. USA only. Please be over 18. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, use that keyword, and leave your comment by the date shown here on the screen for a chance to win. And Glenna, thank you so much for sharing that with myself and the viewers. That is so generous of you. And we're going to totally bless someone with that gorgeous chart. I have mine started, would love to get back to it. And if you guys haven't, check out Holly, Mrs. Jones Stitches. She has completed hers, and that chart is part of the Back to Homeroom Sal hosted by Tara Sullivan of Sully Stitches and Christy of Floss Boss and Cousins. And so much fun. I love the name of their Sal. I love participating in those Sals. I'd really like to get back to that one too. And I'm super impressed at how fast Holly's needle flew to finish stitching that gorgeous design. Later, me popping in, I forgot that I need to announce the winner from Flosstube 145. I was giving away odds and ends, and the winner is listed right here on the screen. If this is your comment, please email the email address shown here on the screen with what you won and your physical mailing address, and we will get your prize right out in the mail to you. Also representing for some Memorial Day here, and I will link this sweatshirt as well at the top of the description box. It's a nice dupe of Free People. It's from Target. And just I'm going to let you guys know I did the hard work of purchasing that super expensive sweatshirt, and this cheapo one is made way better. Just a little FYI. But if that was your comment on the screen, please email us. Design. All right, so let's talk about what's new in my shop and what is coming. And then I am going to talk to you guys about some organization because I did a bunch of work. I know I don't have the full video for my craft space yet. Truth be told, I'm still working on it. It is a work in progress. I work on a little bit of it pretty much. No, I don't. I was going to say I work on it every day. I don't. But a couple times a week. And this last week, I got a complete wild hair. I set my timer for 15 minutes. You know how when you don't want to do something, it's really hard to be motivated. And so I said, I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes. And when that 15 minutes is up, I'll be done. So I decided my IKEA Alex drawers are against the wall over here, and I'm going to show them to you. And I thought, well, let's just get started. Let's start a little bit. And I didn't make a huge mess. And I started. And when the 15-minute timer went off, it's like anything. You generally, once you are started, it's easier to keep going. So I thought, well, let's just round out the hour. So I set another timer for 45 minutes. And at the end of 45 minutes, I didn't want to stop. And before you know it, I had spent 4.5 hours cleaning. I did not stop until almost 6 p.m. when Odin informed me it was time for his supper. He's very annoying at 6 years old. When he wants his supper, he cries, he whines, he paws at me. He wants up in my face, he paws at my face. It's annoying. It's super annoying. You'd think I don't feed him in the morning too. But anyway, I was able to pretty much finish. I needed to order a couple of things to finish cleaning up the drawers. I got those from Amazon like the next day. It was fabulous. Finished organizing those as soon as they came. I will link anything I use. I will link to it. I'm going to make a whole list on Amazon for my Alex IKEA drawers. So if you're looking for certain storage things, I will share those. I also used to have the other thing I've gotten since the last time I was here is a different storage for my fabric scraps. I used to have a rolling cart. It fit in my closet upstairs. Not great. I've had it for years. It used to fit in my old home a couple homes ago really well. It did not fit in any space great here, but I had it and I used it. Well, the configuration and setup of my space, the IKEA desk that I use here for filming and for all of my craft work and everything. My cutting mat is on this currently. Um, all of that good stuff, right? Well, there's an it's like a kitchen island is what it's supposed to be. So the side right here down in front of me has shelves. My cardstock is there, extra tools are there, a carousel with markers, a lot of stuff for my paper crafting job kind of goes down here that I might need on the fly as I'm doing a live or filming a video. The other side is open because that is like for bar stools. Well, in my old space that was smaller, I actually I can't even believe I did this. I had my sewing machine over here on the other side. It was always full of junk. I It was not a good plan, but I was making the best, making do. Anyway, and I did use a bar stool there. Well, in this room, it's slightly bigger than my old one. So I was able to put my desk back in here and have my sewing machine clear over there on the other side. And I wanted to make use of that space underneath. So I got a couple of drawer units that Brendan put together for me, kind of a Mother's Day gift. I ordered them from Amazon. He built them. He's built lots of stuff for me lately. It's great having him work for me and also just be a good son. But he built those and I swapped those out, and it has made use of that space. They're really great. So I'm going to link to those as well in case anybody else is looking for just drawer units for anything. Love, love, love those. They actually also have a hardwood top to them. So if you did need them somewhere else, really great. Anyway, I'm going to share those with you too. I'm going to share those two spaces because I have worked on those since the last time we were here. And I also worked on my needle miner, needle miner, needle minder and enamel pen collection. I used to have that up in my other room. I already had most of it up down here, but I needed to make some more embroidery hoops, and I did that. Plus, I made an extra one because these are all pretty well full. So I will show you that as well. But first, let's talk about what's new in my shop. So I know I gave you a sneak peek of these. You probably saw me pull some of those cards out um, here when I was showing you my WIPs. So let me just open one of these to show you. These are the Vintage Notions Floss Drops and Project Cards. Love these. These are like old vintagey photographs. That's why I called this Vintage Notions. It is a set of 5 project cards and 20 floss drops, all pre-punched for you. So they all come punched, ready for you to put your floss on here. They have a cute little vintage ruler ribbon on here, and there's lots of different designs. So let's talk about all the designs. Also come on a little cable ring, just like this. So I'm going to show you the project cards first. We have our little vintage spool. We have this beautiful little set here with like some fabrics and shears, needles, all that good stuff. I just thought it was so pretty. I love the vintage feel of this. This awesome little pin cushion, some spools and buttons, and then finally another little pin cushion, shears, tools, all the things. The back of each of them is exactly the same. They all look just like this. I love keeping track of all of the um, pertinent information for my stitches. So you get 5 of those in the bundle. And then you get 20 floss drops, 2 each of 10 designs. So let me show you those designs because they aren't all the same as the project cards. So we have our little vintage sewing machine. This is just like the project card. So is this one. So we're going to get to 4 of them that are just like the project cards. A little vintage thimble. Another vintagey pin cushion. A different photo of spools of thread and buttons. Another wonderful little pin cushion, and then some tape measures. So these are the 20 floss drops, 10 designs, 2 of each. And on the back of these, all of the same information as well. You can put the chart name and the thread number. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I use them simply on my floss ring to tell me what chart it is. I don't even use them for the thread. They can be used for that. You can hang these off your project bags if you want to remember what's inside. Lots of ways to use these little cards, but of course they're fantastic for your floss if you need them as well. So we're going to pop these back on here. since I opened up one of these. Don't tell Brendan. He had them all packaged so nice, and I wanted to show. I have some, but I have taken some out of my set, so I wanted to show you one full set just like this. And they come nicely packaged in here. So each of them are separate. Let's see if I can not ruin this. Let's not do that. So let's put our floss drops back in here. And then I'm going to show you the Santa ones that are coming for June 1st. We wanted to have them for you in time for Christmas in July stitching. I probably didn't put these in the right order. Don't tell him, okay? He told me not to mess up the order, but what can I say? So they come packaged really cute like this with a little sticker on them together. So really great if you're going to give as a gift as well. And then I told him he didn't have to give me one of the packaged ones for Santa. So this one has a little sticker as well, and it's packaged just like this with the project cards in one and our floss drops in the other. So for this, same deal. Now these might look familiar. I did offer these, and I offered them in Patreon. And then they ended up selling out, so I was never able to offer them last December for general release, but now we are. And what we did this time, 5 project cards are the same. This time we're doing 20 floss drops, and there's 10 different designs, 2 of each. So just like vintage notions. So just like before, let's talk about the project cards. Such cute little Santas. I just love these so much. So here are our Santas. Again, the back information is exactly the same. And then we have our 20 floss drops. In fact, I think Brendan told me this one could be mine, so it's okay if I get them all messed up out of order. And just like the other set, a lot of them are going to be a repeat of certain styles. So that's in the project card. This one is not. Lots of different Santas. They're all pre-punched. This one is a project card as well. Here's Santa and a reindeer. That one is a project card. This one is as well. And there's just 2 of each of these. Project card, and then this one. All pre-punched. You do not have to punch anything. You can just pop your thread right in there. Super easy. They also come with a cute little ribbon on here. So we've got a little cream and red ribbon on our cable ring for you. And perfect for kitting up all of your Christmas stitching so nicely, can be used in lots of different ways. And this is coming June 1st. So this is a little sneak peek. Stay tuned for that. I believe Patreon will get a little early access, but we have plenty of quantity. So stay tuned for June 1st, friends. Super excited to share all of these. Okay, so we're outside of my studio room and we're going to come in. I'm going to show, so this is my desk that I was talking about from IKEA, which is an island. These are 2 roller cart units that I put underneath the desk. And that's where like my fabric scraps go by color. There's Odin. So they all go in the drawers by color. There's some open ones over down here. Those are for like projects and things. I have not actually filled those yet. So we are going to talk about my wall with the enamel pins and needle minders. I made a couple of more embroidery hoops. You can see there. So it just hangs above where my sewing machine, don't look at the top of the desk, that's a work in progress still. That did not get handled. But that is a nice little, you know, bit of inspiration above where my sewing machine is. And then what I wanted to show next are my IKEA drawers. So let me see. Don't worry, Odin. I'll move for you. So over here against this wall are my IKEA drawer units. And he's not going to like this, but I'm going to have to move him again. So the top of this was actually covered with stuff when I moved down here. I hung one thing up. I plan to like hang like little mini quilts and things, I think, above over here eventually. But I got my rulers, my quilting rulers organized. There's a couple little stacks of things that need to be put away. There's a few little stack things over there too. But I also have like my needle case, extra needle cases and whatnot. There's just basically this little stack right here that needs me to do something with it. But what I want to show is my drawers. I have completely organized them, and I'm going to talk about them kind of drawer by drawer. So some of them are paper crafting, some of them are stitching and quilting. This is any quilting things that I don't need right at my sewing machine. So scissors, seam rippers, other tools, marking tools, scissors are all over in the drawers at my desk. But this is just some little extra things like extra binding I had left over. My lint roller I actually use all the time. Little mini vacuum from Fat Quarter Shop. I actually use that to clean up all of my drawers. It was fantastic. So just some little extra goodies. Okay, then in this drawer, this is all labels. And these are little stacking storage bins that I get mine off of Amazon. I love them. And I've kind of gone to all of these. Over the years, I've gotten a lot of these. They do stack. So you can see even in my IKEA drawers, I can stack a lot of these. Back here's a lot of my Sweetwater labels. These are all little sewing labels and things I use. These are little poofs for Santa hats. Didn't have anywhere else for these, so they're in here for now, which is fine. That works. My next drawer, this is what I changed. So these used to be in some of these longer clear things, but it didn't work really great because they fit well enough. I'll show you them in some of the other drawers. They fit well enough, but I didn't feel like I was using the space as well as I could for my extra DMC. So these are drawer dividers I get off Amazon that I love. And the floss is all organized. So this is like everything that is, let me look. I think this is like 0 to the $2.99. These are the 300s, 400s, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The next drawer down is obviously going to have the rest. It also has some specialty floss, some leftover pearl cottons, just little things like that. Yeah, Odin was not loving that Mommy is making lots of noise. Next, I have NPIs and maybe I think a Dinky Dyes or 2 is in here as well, but silks that are, you know, like this and not on a hanging card are all in here. My next drawer down, oh, I forgot. I need to go get my ribbon cards for this. I threw it in here to hide. So you might remember around Christmas time during Vlogmas, I showed wrapping all of my like Lady Dot trims and things on here. Dames of the Needle, anything like that. And it's all by color. These are some ribbon cards. I will add those to the same Amazon list. These are some other ribbons and things and a few extra trims that I've gotten or I found when I moved. This must have fell back behind this unit. And so when we moved it down, I found this one. I just need to add these to cards and put them in. These are all like twines from Lawn Fawn that fit in this little skinny space really nicely. And then here is the rest of my ribbons. like neutrals are all here. These are all those wonderful ribbons from Amazon on spools. My bow making tools are in here. And then the rest of some trims and things that don't fit on those cards. This is all like foundation paper, triangles on a roll, yo-yo makers, tools, eyelet maker tool, that kind of stuff goes in here. And then down here is extra tools, my glue guns, bookbinding tools, pom-pom makers, little mini iron, just kind of extra tools and things, extra glue sticks, all of that kind of good stuff down here. Tassel makers. Next, I have 4 of these. This is what I know you guys have asked about quite a lot, like my little accessories and whatnot that I use either for filling my stitch case or hanging on bags. So these are all kind of by theme. I do have some beads in here. I didn't have another good place for those, and that's fine. They go in here just fine. Again, all of these little stacking drawers. So, for example, we've got some summer and maybe some like stitching and stuff charms. Charms go in these small squares, but then they go, the pins, like decorative pins and things, go in these longer ones, and I simply stack them. We also have like all of the fall Halloween. There's another little one back there. Valentine's things. And I just pull them out. I have them in lots of different sizes. So this is where like all my pins go by theme and occasion, basically, so that I can easily find what I'm looking for. Our next drawer, we've got pom-poms, felt pieces, button makers. All of these go in little containers so that they're easily sorted out, easy to find. Stitching miscellaneous drawer, basically. So this is like that, my upholstery thread that I use that's strong, extra needles, beading needles, extra, like my sharp needles I use for felt or wool applique, extra cross stitch needles because you never know when you might need some, so they're in here. Extra tools, things I use. My cording tool is in here. My Kohana scissors, which I think I've told you guys are not my favorite. So, but I use them sometimes. They're in here. Extra floss drops. These are a lot of like the Lori Holt ones. An extra punch if I need to punch anything. I have my floss drops and stuff in here. The rare earth magnets for finishing. So it's just kind of a hodgepodge of stitching related things in this drawer. And then this drawer is like for organizing things I've received as gifts or things I use to in my stitch case. So great little scissor fobs or bag fobs. This is a lot of strawberry little goodies. Remember when I decked out my strawberry case last year? I'll probably do it again this year. Waxers, cute little embellishments, all different kinds of waxers, extra little wood spools and things. These are like some little vintagey things, some bee stuff, other cute little fobs and bag charms that I've received as gifts. So all kinds of stuff back here. And the bigger area back here has like large floss cards, corner gauges, lotion bar, you know, just some bigger stuff. So that's one drawer of that kind of thing. Here is my other, more seasonal. So summer, look at this, really awesome. I need to put that in my summer stitch case. A cute little flamingo one. kind of summery stuff, Christmas stuff, fall stuff. There's some Easter over here. And again, I just have it sorted all by season so that if I want to add things to my stitch case, I can. And I'm using those same clear acrylic organizers for everything. Some are stacked, some aren't. Just kind of depends on the space. Okay, clearly, let's just lay that on top. Okay, then I also showed all of these last December. These are the Elizabeth Craft organizer trays, and I have some of these. A lot of this might be, well, some of it isn't. Some of it's pins and things. Lobster claw clasps for making bag charms. This one's a lot of Tim Holtz stuff. More Tim Holtz stuff. So these all have a lot of cross-stitch finishing, mixed media finishing things, etc. This one is buttons. There's 3 in each of these bottom 4 drawers, by the way. So this is all my buttons by color. This is this one, and this one's going to have like vintagey buttons, just another button company, the rest by color, etc. And then this bottom one has a lot of my paper crafting, shaker shapes, clay shapes, all of that good stuff. And there's several of those down there. Sequins, all that good stuff. My next IKEA cabinet over, Alex IKEA cabinet, or drawer unit. This is a lot of Tim Holtz mixed media. So great things for finishing, you know, paper crafting too if you want to, but just decor items. Think of this stuff. I've used it for different things. This one also has a lot of finishing things, a lot of Tim Holtz. I got some large rusty jingle bells that don't fit in those smaller units. So these are the big ones. I actually use these for the wordplay back there. Lady Dot pumpkin stems. Just finishing and embellishing stuff, basically. This drawer has stuff I mostly use for paper crafting, so like gems. This is Spellbinders. Simon Says stamp. This is just a Tim Holtz piece that didn't fit anywhere else. Some little pom-poms that I sometimes use. Paper crafting stuff. This is wax seal making tools, so the electric warmer, wax seal, beads, and lots of colors. Here's all of my wax seals. I actually take them off of the little handles and store them like this so I can easily see what there is. And then I do have just a couple of little basic punches in this drawer. This is all of the stuff for the Glimmer hot foil system. So if you're not a paper crafter, that's irrelevant, but showing it anyway. And then all of my zippers are in this drawer, and it may not look like it, but they are all in clear bins, either by style, color, etc. So that drawer is pretty full. Wool applique stuff. Here's actually another needle book, some other wool applique, and then wool is down in the bottom drawer. In this drawer unit, this whole tower is paper crafting. Embossing powders, more embossing powders and a few tools, pastes, splatters, glitter, extra pens, black glossy pens, if you know, you know. Extra tools, glues. Some of this stuff I actually do use. For example, I use this for gluing my buttons on those tomato pieces. So extra glues, I have like little E6000s, Aleene's glue, my quick and thick glue for wood pieces is in here. There's just some basic like tools and whatnot. Extra scissors that I have. This is more extra tools, acrylic blocks, and I use this all the time, actually. Extra adhesives for paper crafting all go in here. I did clean this out completely, and I found that I had glossy accents in 3 different places, so I'm stocked up. I'm good. Lots of foam tape. This drawer is still a work in progress. This is like my card bases. I am out of a lot of my card bases. I actually need to get some. So I'm reorganizing that one. Tim Holtz spray stains and paints. Oh, but also I keep my instant antique spray in here that I use for aging fabrics and linen. And then more inks, paints, stains. And then this last tower is a different Alex drawer units. There's 2 stacked on here. And this is like all of my paper crafting ink, etc. all goes in here. And this whole tower is paper crafting stuff, so I'm not going to show that. And of course, here's my fabric. We have a little bit of stuff over here that needs to be taken care of. I just stacked it up there while I'm working on it, but the shelves are all nice and organized. Paper crafting stuff mostly lives over here. There's a little bit of fabric stuff and felt stuff, but the rest is my fabric wall. And then up high, I have cute little decor. So you can kind of see how I decorate that up there. And of course, my filming setup. This is where a lot of you guys see me from. In fact, there you can see my camera is actually paused while I'm using my handheld camera to film. And this is getting taken care of after I'm done uploading my video. So I even have some more of these little containers. They're going to all go, we're going to clean up this drawer and put them in here, but they are all the little alphabetties and things for organizing. Really, really fun. So hopefully you enjoyed that little sneak peek of my storage. I thought I would share because I did go through and I completely reorganized all of those shelf units, and I love how it turned out. And it's really nice because I feel like I can find everything very easily. They were a little jumbled up. I had some sewing stuff mixed in with paper craft stuff, and there still is a little bit of that because my room serves lots of purposes. But I tried to keep the paper crafting kind of closer over to that side, so I'm not having to come back and forth to find all of, sewing notions or whatever. I mean, sometimes I need to. I need a button or something for something I'm making for paper crafting. But for the most part, it kind of keeps my sewing and cross stitch and all of that good stuff together, and then have my paper crafting all together too. So hope that's helpful. I will put a complete list together on Amazon for everything I used for that. If you have any questions, drop us a note, let us know, and myself or Brendan will be happy to find the product and answer that. He's been helping me work on putting together all of the supplies and stuff for that. But I think that is it for today. Don't forget to leave a comment for the Pledge of Allegiance chart from Plum Street Samplers. Use the word pledge in case you want to win that. Leave your comment by the date I showed on the screen earlier. Thank you guys, as always, for joining me for another Flosstube episode. I will be back next Sunday with another new episode. I cannot wait to talk about everything I get up to this week. Have a wonderful stitchy week, everybody.